You ready?
Yeah, let's do something.
Kick it.
You had to wait for it.
Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're so excited you're with us today. I'm your host, Chet Sears. With me, as always, is Matt Sandbagger Amos and Troy Three-Shot Trussell. We're glad to be back in studio. Got a lot of stuff going on.
That's right.
It's been pretty exciting here recently. And we're going to hear about what's on your mind.
Who's mine?
I don't know.
Is it
Matt
mine?
Amos, what is on your mind,
I'll
sir?
kick it off, huh? All right. So going across the interwebs today, and I saw that the president was calling for some executive orders on gun control. So
Okay.
being as that is an issue that I am very passionate about, I figured that we should be able to discuss that one fairly well between the three of us, being as I know that you had that conversation because I wanted to kind of talk about that, kind of the difference between the viewpoints on gun control and gun violence and the difference between the two.
Right.
And just kind of dive a little bit deeper into that because I know that we've brushed across it a little bit previously, but I wanted to cover a little bit more of that. And so I guess basically starting off is I think the measures that we have on the books now are more than enough to cover pretty much anything that's out there. And I see it as more of a people problem than a gun problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I was discussing this with someone a while back, and we had just kind of going over it. And I was like, dude, I think it really just comes down to an issue of respect for the weapon itself and respect for life as a whole. So I really think that's the issue. And so I was kind of curious because he keeps mentioning assault weapons and, your AR-15 rifle with your high capacity magazines. And that seems to be the focus of gun violence, of what they're calling.
The mass shootings, right? I mean, I think that's the delineation that people have is there's all kinds of murder. Let's not even talk about guns. There's all kinds of murder, hammers, knives,
So
that are far and above
Hammers.
But
or clubs.
the instances of one individual and a lot of casualties is something that our society is dwelling on right now.
Well, and I get that. So I pulled a Chet Sears and I did some statistical research.
Oh,
which I typically don't.
Dangerous. That's dangerous.
I typically don't ever do.
Did you get prior authorization?
I did not. So I went and downloaded the FBI's
footnotes.
Yeah, I went down and the FBI has their gun violence data for homicides, right? And your mass shooting would be included into those homicides.
Absolutely. It's very low.
So for rifles, which would include your AR-15, how many deaths do you think have occurred? Well, let's take 2019, for example. How many deaths do you think occurred in 2019? Because that's the data that I have up to.
Due to a rifle.
Due to a rifle.
And murder.
Yes. And so that's all rifles, not including just your
Yeah,
AR-15.
that's a bolt action. That's a whatever else.
Yeah. Bolt action, semi-automatic, single shot, whatever.
I maybe 100.
So in 2019, 364.
364.
Total.
Okay.
For all rifles.
Across the entire United States.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was actually the highest number in the past 5 years.
Okay.
So it goes from 215 in 2015 to 300 in 2016, 389 in 2017, which was actually the highest, I guess. And then 2018 was 305. And if we look at...
So less than one a day.
Yeah, which is, I get it, still too many, right?
Still, yeah. Agreed.
But I know handguns are like 3 times that, right?
Way more than that.
Yeah.
Way more than that. So handguns, in 2015, there were 6,200 by handgun because it's more easily concealed.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well,
unless you're wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going somewhere there too. More easily concealed, more easily accessible. There's probably more of them out there. There are more of them on the black market.
It's easy to get your hands on.
Yeah, yeah. It's not necessarily easier to conceal. Well, it's just easier to own.
There's not a lot of
and store and have on you and
they get stolen.
Have in your car and
they're easier to steal because they're more. That's typically what people will have for personal protection, and so they're more readily available because not everybody's carrying around an AR for personal protection. But if you go down and you look at knives, since we brought up knives, there were 1,533 deaths in 2015 from knives. Fast forward to 2019, 1,476 deaths from knives. So five times. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a Marine, but that's almost 5 times the amount by knives. And and then you look at blunt objects, clubs, hammers that you were talking about, and there's still consistently more over the last 5 years than all rifles combined.
Yeah.
So I honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it is a gun problem because the numbers just don't correlate to that.
Right.
And so there were some statistics for mass shootings as well. And from 1949 to 2000, there were a total of 50 mass shootings in the United States. And they classify mass shooting as a shooting where 4 or more people were killed. So that
or
is
killed or wounded, right? They don't necessarily have to die.
Well,
hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
casualties, however you call it.
Yeah. So from 1980 to 2000, 42 of those occurred.
Yeah.
And then from 2011 to 2020, there have been 66. So if you go back, the AR was introduced back in 1964, actually for sale in 1964, and the AK-47 was 1976 is when it basically met the American market.
Yeah.
So we had less shootings when these firearms, when basically back then everybody had a gun. A majority of the population hunted, which has nothing to do with the Second Amendment, but it just has more to do with the amount of guns available in a home. Yeah. But there were less, mass shootings were more rare then than they are now. We have more gun control than we ever have had before. And it doesn't correlate. It's a people problem, not something that you can legislate.
Right. And, I think some of the bigger issues that we've got, and we're actually recording this the day before Biden's coming out with what he's calling executive action. So I don't know exactly what's going to be in those. But, I think on top of everything else, having the Second Amendment being very clear about, not infringing and that we have a right to bear arms, that going about changing that any other way than changing the Constitution is not good. Like we can't, you don't need to executive order pigeonhole some of this stuff when the Constitution's clear. So if you're a gun control advocate, in my opinion, go after the Second Amendment. Let's change it, right? Let's get the legislation there. Let's get the states to pass it. You got to have 3/4 of the states to remove an amendment. Let's go that route. Let's not try to pigeonhole back through all this executive action, which is not going to make a difference at all. Let's deal with the Constitution. Let's not try to circumvent the Constitution.
Yeah, well,
and I'm not a proponent for that. Like, let's not change it. I'm not saying that we should, but if you're going to change it, change it. You know what I'm saying? Don't.
Yeah, well, and I get what you're saying. Come out, but I think it goes back to a political agenda because there are a lot of firearms owners on both sides. It's not a one-sided thing. There's tons of people, and I don't think that. I think both sides would view that, and they don't want to go that route, and they know that they're not going to be successful that way. So they build all these little things around it to choke.
Yeah, but the problem with that is what we've already built. Like there are so few convictions on violations of our existing gun laws. So why have more gun laws if we're not going to convict? The president's son, Hunter Biden, lied to get a firearm, and he wasn't convicted of that.
Yeah.
There's laws that we already have on the books that we're not even following that would prevent a lot of this stuff that's going on, guns from getting in the wrong hands. I'll tell you though, we talked about it earlier in a previous episode, but the thing that really upsets me is the lack of control. Like Wichita, Kansas, a majority of the guns that are used in crimes are stolen from somebody's vehicle. So more than likely a Second Amendment proponent that is loosely carrying their weapon, that is not securing it properly. The accidents that happen in the homes because, firearms aren't stored properly. There's a lot of things that happen with guns that are just tragic. Let alone, I'm listening to talk about societal behavior, but some of the flippancy that we have with the firearms in our homes and in our vehicles and how they can get into the wrong hands, that upsets me too, quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just, it's completely two different things really, rights, constitutional, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there's a lack of responsibility that a lot of gun owners have that also are on the same side as me as the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Well, and our, here in Kansas, they're trying to pass, and I don't know if they have or not, cause I haven't looked at it since I've been back, but, teaching firearm safety in school. And they're trying to get that done. And I think that would be awesome to be able to do that, because then you've got a generation of kids that know how to handle a weapon, what to do if they find one,
right?
How to handle it if they find one, so they're not just pointing it at everybody.
They used to teach that stuff.
They used to. Yeah. And I think a lot of those accidents could be avoided by proper education, but
and you could almost go into requiring hunter safety, because that's the curriculum for hunter safety is directly correlated to the minimization of accidents in the field from hunting and the requirements that everybody has to go through to do that. And I remember when I went through it, I was like 12 years old.
Yeah, I had to go through it in Louisiana.
And, but I mean, the primary thing that they taught, and I still think, based on my kids going through it here recently, is firearm safety.
Yeah.
Like what are you pointing at? Always treated it like it's loaded with the 10 laws, what's behind what you're shooting at, those kinds of things. So yeah, education, I think it would play a really big part of that as well.
Yeah. Well, and just, I think that would curb the accidental stuff, and people storing their guns more safely, having more respect. And it goes back to respect for the firearm itself. Mm-hmm. And the homicide would just be respect for your fellow man, love your neighbor, type of deal.
Yeah. Well, and based on the statistics you shared, you take away long black rifles, there's still hammers, there's still handguns,
you can't fix a person's
it's I don't know, designer politics, right? This is something that is going to catch some headlines, and everybody's going to act like they're doing something in Washington, and things matter, and it's not really going to change the day to day.
All I know is they need to stop, because I cannot find primers, I cannot find powder, I can't find rounds myself.
Yeah.
Right now, and it's ridiculous.
Well, he'll do a few executive orders on this, and then he'll move on to the next big thing to try to make everybody happy about that. And then hopefully the things you're looking for will get back on the market. We'll be able to.
Let's start the next big thing right now.
Right?
Yeah. What are
exactly.
Let's just go ahead and jump to it.
Yeah.
But as far as gun control is concerned, I don't believe that the government has any right to know what you own as far as a firearm. I don't think they should have any business doing that. I think if you have a concealed carry license, as long as you hold that license and that license has not been revoked, I think you should go be able to buy whatever you want. It should be a one and done. You shouldn't have to have continual background checks as long as you're carrying that, because if the state and the government trust you to issue you that license, then you should go out and be able to buy whatever you want. And I think one background check should be good until as long as you have that license.
Yeah.
If you don't have the license,
but if you get convicted of something that revokes that, then the government actually has to revoke it, so you can't go back in.
Right.
And they're not doing that. I mean, that's been proven.
And they're, and the big thing that he's talking about is putting serial numbers on, quote, ghost guns. So for ghost guns, basically that's buying an 80% finished lower receiver, and it takes a lot of mill work. It takes some gunsmithing knowledge in order to get that done. And not everybody can do it, but they're claiming that there's just all these scary ghost guns running around on the streets. And that's simply just not the case. And even if they are, they're not. Yeah. I mean, we're looking at 300 of total homicides in the U.S. So, I don't know. I think it's insane. I think it's crazy. I think it's a waste of time, government dollars, when it could be spent on other things that would benefit everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
But our government, did you see how hard that was for him?
No, I'm just saying our government doesn't exist to benefit everybody. And the more you think that, the harder of life you're going to have.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
But so that's kind of what's been on my mind. I actually had a whole other list of things I was going to talk about of what's on my mind today, and then I saw that, and then I got pretty fired up, and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. But
so we'll see what executive orders have come out and how awesome they are, and how we're all safer now.
Yeah,
which we won't be.
I'm just saying.
Just watch out for the claw end of the hammer. It's really what gets you, because it can really do some damage.
I don't know anything about that.
but I hear it gets stuck.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right, let's take a break real fast.
Troy, I noticed you're scratching your facial hair that you have there.
Yeah.
Looks like you need some Admiral's Pennant beard oil.
That's right.
I think you could definitely benefit from it.
Will it make my hair grow longer and not be scalp is itchy?
It will stop the irritation. One of the reasons it does, it has all natural oils, no substitutes.
I can get down with that.
There's nothing fake in there.
Nothing
it's all
fake.
real.
It's real. Come on, man.
It's
real. You know, the thing.
For real.
I will grow it out.
You should, and I recommend Admiral's Pennant. 1815 is my favorite.
Where can I get some?
www.admiralspennant.com. Tell them Hardheaded sent you.
I will do that.
Hey, you also get a handwritten note.
From the owner?
From the owner.
Matt Amos?
And every single
cares
package.
About everyone who buys his products. Welcome back to Hardheaded Podcast. Thank you to our sponsor, Admiral's Pennant. We're going to continue on our discussion with talking about our top 3 items to have in your severe weather shelter. According to Matt, that is way too long of a top 3 title.
Only because you had stated before on some of mine that they were way too long, and that one is just as long as the other ones that I've suggested.
So we're in the spring. The Hardheaded cast lives in Kansas. So we are always weather aware this time of year. Some people are nervous. Some people get excited about it. I kind of get excited about it.
I love it.
But we started talking about, preparedness and what can we do? What should you have with you for your shelter? Here, we typically say our basement. We know where you are. You may not have a basement. So your interior room with no windows that you go to shelter, what should you have in there?
Or a bathroom with a bathtub. Cover yourself in the bathtub.
Yeah.
We used to have to do that in our apartment when I was a kid.
Yeah. Typically, that's an interior room.
Sometimes it's an exterior room.
Typically, yeah. Or if you have
or a closet,
an outdoor underground storm shelter. I know I have a lot of friends in Oklahoma that they actually dig a hole in their garage with a ramp door, so you back your car out and then everybody goes in there because they don't have basements down there. So wherever your shelter is, what should you have in there? What are the top 3 items you should have in there? So when that time comes, when you have to take shelter with your family, what's going to be inside of there? Matt,
I'll start it. Number
3.
3.
Yes.
Number 3. I'm gonna stick with my cell phone. I'm gonna have my cell phone in there. I'm just gonna take it with me.
Okay.
So, because a lot of people will freak out, they'll forget stuff. Stick that cell phone in your pocket, get it in there with you, and then I know what you're gonna say. Well, what if it runs out of batteries? I have your solution for that. My second item is a power bank.
Okay.
So have a power bank because you may be out without power for a while. So you, on like the power bank that I've got, which is I think it's a Goal Zero something or other, but I can get like 7 charges out of that thing. to charge my phone 7 times, and it charges it full in maybe 10, 15 minutes. I mean, it's quick.
We took some of those to Colorado. I don't think they were that gold. They didn't have that gold standard.
No. Of course, it was years ago.
Yeah, true.
Technology's come a long way.
Yeah.
I bought this one a few years ago, and it's got the solar panels that you can attach to it to actually charge it
nice.
if you need to. And then water.
Yeah.
Kind of basic.
What happens when those cell towers get knocked down by that tornado?
Who are you going to call?
Storm busters.
Yeah.
So typically, if you
got
look,
good video footage.
I figured one of you jackholes was going to come up with that. So
yeah.
Typically, you look at a tornado, and it's the big ones here, get to a mile and a half wide.
Mm-hmm.
But you have different towers in different areas, so it's very unlikely that the entire grid is going to go down.
But who you gonna what? I need to.
No,
I'm gonna get on Facebook and post everybody. I'm a mark safe during the tornado.
One, it didn't happen if you didn't post about it. Okay, yeah. So, but no, that way if you are trapped inside your home, you can call somebody to get out. Your phone also has a flashlight on it, so that's why I didn't put the flashlight on there, because you can turn the flashlight on, use it. And if you're stuck in there for a while, you're gonna have games, right? Something to take your mind. If you got kids, you got games. Right, we're gonna play Monopoly. We're gonna play whatever. Just something to take your mind off of the crappy situation that you're in. Typically, just because I see, storms, even though they can be widespread with a lot of people, typically they get to you fairly quickly. So, in that kind of scenario, I really don't think that it's not like you need tons of food. You don't need hordes of all this stuff. It's just a quick, and I can only pick 3 items. And so those were the top 3 that I would typically have with me.
Yeah.
Whenever a severe weather situation would hit. Those are my items.
I'll go, and I'll start with number 3, Troy.
All right, I like it.
Down.
And the audience really enjoys it too, I bet.
So it's predictable. The first thing, so there's having stuff there already, which I do, but one of the things that I have my kids prepare, you're talking about put your cell phone with you or whatever, actually put your shoes on. So there's only been 2 times since we've lived here in Kansas where I've sent my kids to the basement because of a storm, and both times it's get your shoes and go in there too, because if we're gonna have a tornado destroy our home, the first thing that you're gonna have to do is come out of the debris, and that's you're getting your feet cut up and all that kind of stuff. So actually wear your shoes to your shelter, or at least bring them down there with you for that time.
That's pretty smart.
He's a thinker.
Water and snacks. You talk about water, but you may not need food. You just throw some breakfast bars in there with your water bottles, and actually I have a little kit with it's like a 12-pack of water and some breakfast bars or something just to snack. If it's typically at night here, and so you're probably going to be in for a long night, and it'd just be nice to have something little, keep your kids tided over. If they need anything, got water and a little bit of food, and then a first aid kit. So, and in a first aid kit, water purification is something that's there, because just iodine tablets or whatever you need, just in case you need to purify water for any extended amount of time. And that's, severe weather. I also grew up in Louisiana, so hurricane stuff is a little bit longer to deal with, and longer with power outages and all that. So I kind of have a little bit of that philosophy with what I keep in our bathroom basement. There's a part of the cabinet that we have in that bathroom that I keep all this stuff in.
So, we were only given 3 items, and I feel like iodine tablets...
First aid kit. No, first aid kit that includes iodine tablets. That's water purification is part of first aid.
All I'm saying is, if you want to, what I have in my safe room, because we don't have a basement, so the safe room is our closet, and it's reinforced concrete. But I got all kinds of stuff in there that I couldn't mention because I only was told I could have 3.
Okay.
Well, it's Chet's top 5 again.
All of a sudden, he's not okay with the top 3.
In that case, everybody should have a whole home generator.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah,
it would be nice.
Yeah. Aren't they like
Chet would like it with the Generac.
That's right.
Are they like $20,000 or something?
It depends on how big you want.
Wow.
If you want the whole home or just certain circuits and all kinds of stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'll go start off with number 3, like I always do. I put water, number 3, pretty important item. Needed to make the top 3 list, especially if you're down there or in there for a while. You're definitely going to need something to drink. And with my top 3 here, I did top 3 things you should have in there. So I didn't put phone because I figure
you'd have it on you.
I'd have it on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it in there anyway. But having a charger, that's probably a pretty good idea too. But I didn't put it on my top 3.
No, you didn't.
No. So I might run out of juice because my kids are going to be like, "Can I play a game on your phone?" Yeah.
We just got hit by a tornado.
Right. Don't worry about it.
Go play in the debris.
Number 2 would be a battery-operated lantern to turn on while we're in there, just in case we lose power. And then number 1 would be a weather radio.
Yeah.
That would be my number 1. I just remember as a kid, when we'd had bad storms in Louisiana, my dad turned that thing on and it just repeated the same thing over and over and over. And I just didn't really understand what was going on as a kid, It was like, wow, why is he listening to that, carrying it around, and it's just saying the same thing over? But, the older I got, the more I can appreciate those little weather AM radios.
Yep.
Just a good thing to have.
Well, and they can help. They have the warning systems on them, too, so they can wake you up. And
even back then, it had a little tab you could push, and it would alert you.
Yeah.
And, so be a good thing to have. Weather
also, your cell phone alerts you to weather, and you can see the storm.
That's right.
I turned off all those notifications.
But in my top
on
3,
my phone, I don't want any of those.
In my situation,
the emergency notifications.
Yeah.
So you don't care if there's a child that goes missing?
Huh? I don't need to. That's typically 4 hours away when all that stuff goes off.
That's so insensitive.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
I just, you can go in there and disable all that stuff. I do that.
Well, I know you can.
I do.
But that's I have a weather alert radio because we don't, where I'm at, the radio stations don't come in real well.
Yeah.
And so we have a weather alert radio that gets the NOAA alerts.
Yeah.
And then my phone gets the NOAA alerts.
Yeah.
That's why I say phone as well, because then when the storm's passed, when it's all clear.
It is nice having a radar in your pocket.
But I do, that's all we had growing up was the weather radio.
Yeah.
And listen to that. I can still remember KFDI. I'm Dan Dillon, and you can hear the rain hitting his windshield and beating up his car, and he's reporting on the storms, and it was kind of cool, and
because they drive around town and tell you what intersection they're at, and how bad the hail is, and where the funnel cloud is.
Me and my buddy used to do that.
Yeah.
We would hop in and we go chasing the storm, looking for a tornado.
Yeah.
It never happened. And then when I moved back, and the house I'm in now, I've spotted 2 tornadoes from my front porch.
Yeah.
So it's fun. I got a pretty good view to see all around me of what's going on.
What's strange is, I've always heard growing up is Kansas being like Tornado Alley in Oklahoma, and when we moved up here, I feel like more tornadoes have hit back home.
Like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all that. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's shifted.
Right.
It's just strange.
Yeah. Well, and I think population density has some to do with that too, because there's just a lot more people and a lot less farms down there. So if you're going to get a tornado, if you're going to get some severe weather, it's going to impact more people than here in Kansas. Like the tornadoes that you've seen are probably just going through wheat fields.
Pretty much. There was one home destroyed by one of them that I saw, but everybody was fine there. I mean, there were some small injuries, but nobody.
Yeah. Well, statistically speaking, you have a 95% survival rate for getting a direct hit in a home by an F4 tornado if you're in an interior room that doesn't have a window. Like if you go in like a bathroom that's not on the exterior of the house and you get in the bathtub, close the doors, all that kind of stuff. The survival rate's actually really high.
Yeah.
So being aware what's going on to be in the right place is it's really important, and it can mean life or death. So anyway,
very good.
I learned that from some storm spotter training that I've been to.
Yeah, maybe someday you can share some of that with us.
Well, shoot. They just, one of the cool things this year, because they always hold them in person, like one training per county in Kansas. But this year, because of COVID, they did it all online, so people had the opportunity to just log in.
Yep.
But they do quite a bit for training here in the state. It's pretty neat.
Very cool.
And they're fun to watch. I don't know. I don't like anybody
Storm Fury on the Blaze.
Oh, I love it. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I love seeing that wall cloud form and just guessing, which way it's going to go. And because I'm not a meteorologist, but I can spot, right?
Yeah.
So just been around it my whole life, and I don't know, gives a little bit of adrenaline rush, and
yep,
kind of that. I want to put, after talking about firearms and stuff like that, you want to have a gun, but there's always, you never know.
Never know after that debris who's going to come looting.
Trying to loot. Yep.
Good grief.
Oh, man.
All right. It's time to move on to our good word.
All right.
Which is coming from 3-Shot.
Yes, sir. So there was a big storm a couple of thousand years ago. There were some guys on a boat. They were really scared.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do. But there was a man on their boat. And he was taking a little nap underneath. And so they got scared and they went and woke him up. Okay.
Said, hey, there's a storm.
So there's a storm.
We're freaking out.
We're about to die.
And you're taking a nap.
What are you doing sleeping below on the boat? What's going on? And so the good word comes from Mark 4:39. And it says, and he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. So, Jesus calmed the storm. And if there's somebody out there that can tell the winds and the waves to bow down and be still, I think I'm going to follow that guy.
Yeah.
And so the men were amazed, and, he calmed the storm. And as I thought that fitted real well with talking about 3 things you need, your top 3.
Yeah.
Well, your top 1 should be Jesus.
That's right.
If you're going into a storm. So.
Cool.
I like how you.
Like I tied that in?
You tied that in. You tied that in a lot better than I tied in. What was it? The kids and Disney. I was trying to tie it together and it completely failed. That was a lot better than mine for sure.
Well, Troy prepares more than you do. That's
true. That's true.
Yeah.
But no, I absolutely agree. I mean, obviously, and that's why, I really don't, there's a lot of fear going around, and, everybody, just kind of overreacts a little bit. And it's just like, man, there's no reason to be scared. I've got to look that number up because I say it so many times, but I don't know how many times it says, be courageous, as opposed to
do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. Do not worry.
Yeah.
How many times that's said in the Bible, and just live it,
Agreed.
Because when you know him, it's not over. This is just part 1. This is act 1. Let's get to.
Yeah. Act 2 is when you die. That's the real beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool, man.
Very
good. Thanks for sharing.
Anytime.
All right. I think we need some music to take us out of here.
All right. I will give you your music.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Hardheaded Podcast. We'd like to thank Admiral's Pennant Beard Oil for their sponsorship. Please visit admiralspennant.com for all of your beard oil needs.
Don't forget to #join the conversation, subscribe on YouTube, and give us a rumble.
What did we leave off of our top 3 list? Let us know.
Good stuff.
I like it.
All right.